Hey, everybody.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the Friday Marketing Happy Hour. 10 minutes late because it's Black Friday, and I was busy buying things today.
I was too, actually. Picking up a few odds and ends here and there.
What'd you buy?
I can't say.
Okay. Anyway, I am one of your hosts, Dr. Christohper Vogelmann of Maximize Your Media, our digital agency, which helps people, for everything from Pinterest to Facebook ads, YouTube ads, and we help people get greater social reach. And we like to preach about the results that you can get with that. I'm also working with doctors to get more free time, freedom, and fun with their own online businesses, either as a secondary source of revenue or as the primary one if they want to ditch their practice, escape the exam room, and go to a more healthful lifestyle business. With me, as always, is John Paduchak of...
It's me. I'm John Paduchak of Targeted Solutions. JohnPaduchak.com.
Having trouble with my finger.
There's something else I'm missing? It keeps pointing at me like this. We specialize in video, helping people with the marketing and planning side of things. In the 80% or the 20% that gets you the 80% of the results, I should say. So that's our specialty.
How about the 10% that gets you 90% of your results?
I always like that. That's what my friend Andy Jenkins used to say.
If you could help me with my lighting, that would be really good.
Yeah, you really need some help over there.
There's too much light. It's too sunny. It's not sunny where you are.
Much better on the wide view.
All right, we'll stick with the wide view. Yeah. So today I chose the word strategery as an homage to George W. Bush, who used to talk about strategery and his mispronunciation of things, just to see if any of you would notice the misspelling. And one person did. That guy.
I did. Is that like a Yale Harvard thing going on there?
Kind of, because he is a Yale.
I know.
He's a Yale. Yeah, we used to refer to that. Yale was the land of second choice. So
yeah,
which might upset my wife. So
I thinking maybe I
possibly
saw that the other day.
Possibly. Whoa! I just said that was not an earthquake. That was me hitting my.
I didn't realize that your wife was a Yale.
She's a Yale, but we still like her.
Well, it's important. That's important.
Despite that.
So I talked you into today's topic because
you did, because I wasn't ready to. I was ready to just talk about what kind of Black Friday sales we had seen. So
we could talk about that too. But today was a topic kind of near and dear to my heart: marketing strategery.
Strategery. See, you're mispronouncing it too.
I like it. Why not? Hey, so we were having. I mentioned to you we were having this discussion this morning that so many people just put the cart before or behind the horse. Before the horse.
Put the cart before the horse. Behind the horse is okay. Strategically, that works.
That works exactly. And so, we were talking this morning, at Winslow and I, about a young lady who posted how excited she is to get started in her business and designing her website and all of that without having a plan at all. And I think there's a lot of people like that.
I fall into that category from time to time.
I think we all do.
Come up with an idea. I've got the logo in mind. I got everything else. And then what are you going to sell? And then, well, I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out later. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes you can use that as a strategy. If you want to create content, you can pre-sell a course and create content as you go along, but you're going to need to have your messaging pretty much locked down before you try that out.
And sometimes people will do that as a strategy to kind of get clarity. They'll start with an idea in mind and start working at that, making some sales, working with some clients, whatever it might be, and then change directions or more fully and what's the word I want to embrace their direction as they go along.
Give it a nice big business hug.
Yeah, exactly. So that happens quite frequently. But our biggest thing we talk about so frequently is having a strategy, having a plan, having having kind of your business laid out before you make a choice like investing in your website and getting that stuff all set up.
I'm trying to figure out why my microphone is rocking back and forth, and I just realized it's not an earthquake. It's the beauty of live broadcasting is that I actually had my chair touching the table that the microphone is on there. There we go. That's much better.
That's at the naval station or anything like that.
No, but we've had earthquakes here where the chandelier is swinging back and forth. Nothing that I ever grew up with on the East Coast, that's for sure. But then I think the whole thing about having the strategy, having a plan in place, is that it has to be an actionable plan. And the question is, are you just running after money, in which case you're just an opportunity seeker? Or do you have a strategic plan? Do you have a really strong vision of where you want to carry a real business forward as opposed to a hobby?
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing that we were mentioning is so many times people don't really think about what is unique about them and their business. So in other words, there's a ton of roofers in the world, right? And anybody can put up a website and say we replace roofs, build new roofs, all of this. But somebody who comes forward and says we specialize in metal roofing and these are our qualifications for doing that, or solar roofing, and put that all together, they're at least telling how they're original and unique in the process as well. And so that's super important.
Yeah, niching down, becoming more specific. I know that metal roofs are very big in Florida, and so much so that I was shocked. I was shocked when I saw a metal roof going up here on Coronado Island. I was like, where do these people think that they're from? Because we see a lot of the Spanish tile roofs going up here on a regular basis, or just regular old asphalt, or asphalt paper, or other types of tile roofing. And we don't, it's so unusual to see that. But if you specialize in something, as you say, you can actually become, I guess, more of the master of the micro niche.
Yeah. And you can also talk about the specific benefits of exactly what that type of roofing offers. We see metal roof, I hate to use roofing as a subject, but we see a lot of metal roofing and solar roofing here because metal roofing, especially, the snow comes off it easier, lasts longer. New England weather is pretty harsh, as you know. You used to live here. So
when I was there, it was harsh.
It was harsh, super
harsh, wicked harsh.
Yeah, exactly. And so you got all of that going on, and that's all specifics. So the more we can get into specifics and features and benefits and describe more fully what we do, it certainly highlights us or puts us ahead of a lot of others.
Well, and when you're putting together a strategic marketing plan, nobody really gives a crap about what your features are. They really want to know how it benefits them. And I think that as you go forward, I just want to jump off the roof for a second here and go to something else. But although solar is very big, I was always shocked too. This is my aside for the time. The largest amount of solar per capita in the world is Germany, not known for its sunny weather. So
no. Well, same here. New England, it's there's a lot of solar going in here, and we're not exactly known for our sunny weather. Not bad. Yeah,
strategic solar. Even on cloudy days, you can still generate electricity. People have this notion that there's nothing that you can generate.
Yeah. Even us with the RV, they often say that even in a parking lot with the floodlights on, you're generating electricity.
That's pretty interesting. You are correct, because I have a small calculator that I got from my dad, who passed away about 4 years ago. And this little calculator, it's a solar powered calculator. And if I hold it under the light, it works.
Oh yeah.
Those photons just come in there and they still generate electricity.
Not generating much, I don't think. But
no, not a lot, but it'll work. You think it wouldn't work during the nighttime hours, but it does if you have a light source.
Small amount at least. Yeah.
Doesn't take much for a calculator. Yeah. So when you're calculating a real business, we're going to get into the entrepreneur versus, actual entrepreneur, but you're calculating and trying to figure out something that's a real business. I think the most important thing is to begin with the end in mind, like Stephen Covey used to always talk about, and come up with a sense of what are your revenue goals. So, and is it something that you have to be passionate about? Is it not? But you really have to think through, and you have to go work backwards. If I want to make $100,000 a year, how am I going to do that? Right? So many dollars. If, or let's say 120,000 a year, it's 10,000 a month. How much is that per week? How much is that a day? And then back down to the point where you have a full recognition of how many sales you need to make in order to realize your annual goal.
True. And the other thing too is, your lifestyle goals.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to travel more or have more flexibility with your children or something of that nature. So you want to begin with that end in mind too, because I've seen so many people lock themselves up in a brick and mortar type business. And frankly, even then, many businesses right now who are locked up in brick and mortar, trying to now go online after all that's happened, right? And try to be more relevant by, getting their products and services out to a wider audience.
Or even to the local audience. You look at the restaurants where the dining has disappeared. Right now, I mean, they had 25% capacity for indoor dining, and that's even shrunken now where it's gone. There's only outdoor dining in San Diego County, and in Los Angeles County, that's gone too. They want everybody to stay away for 2 weeks. So
yeah, we're starting to see that again too.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, so when you look at it from a strategic standpoint, you look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities. What's the T stand for? I keep forgetting what the SWOT, the T in SWOT. TSW, strength, weakness, opportunity. Oh, somebody help me with the T. Mr. T. Anyway, when you're looking at that SWOT analysis, one of the things, whatever the T is, I'll find out later. Maybe it's trends. Yeah. I don't know if it's trends. It might be trends. But when you're looking at that, I'm willing to bet that most people never considered what to do in a pandemic as part of their business strategy.
Oh, no.
At least not a year ago or 2 years ago or anything like that.
I'm sure no.
So, I mean, we have to look at it too. What do you do in the event of a devastating earthquake? Do you have your mailing list? Do you have all the ability to text all your customers? Do you have your warehouse secured if you're selling physical products? What are all those different things that you need to think of, as opposed to I'm getting my logo and doing my colors and getting a website?
Right. Or do you have a secondary place to work out of if your office closes or your business closes or whatever? Yeah.
There are so many factors to consider when you're setting up a really good, sound business strategy. What if Facebook cuts off your business account completely and you can no longer advertise on Facebook?
I don't know what that's like at all.
Where would that happen? What if YouTube just, suddenly erases your channel where you hosted all of your videos? That wasn't really good strategic thinking.
No. I mean, Facebook didn't cut off all of my, my account, but a hacker did.
Well, yeah, but sometimes you lose your business manager account or you lose one ad account. You better have backup ad accounts and a backup business manager so you're not cut off at the knees.
Or somebody hacks your website.
Yep, same thing.
Yeah. So, you want to keep your Facebook page lively, make it look like it's lived in, so at least you've got other places to work out of if that happens. And make sure your customers know about the different places that you post things, or, do you post important, relevant information to your business on Twitter, or how are you going to get messages out that are important to them? Because I know we had to do more mailings now than ever before because of COVID.
Yeah.
Where we did fairly sparse mailings, just from time to time before.
Are you talking physical mail or email?
Email, just physical email. Physical
email.
Regular emailings. Yeah, regular emailings.
The frequency of mailing. I think that one of the biggest strategic moves that you can make is really to focus upon building your email list, so that no matter what platform what social platform you might rely on, rely on. Don't mate with your social platform.
No,
it's bad.
That's weird.
No matter what social platform you're on, if you got cut off from all of your social media, you would still have your email list and you could still reach your customers. And I think people get so excited about, I've got X number of YouTube views, I have all these subscribers to YouTube, I've got all these fans on Facebook, et cetera, that they fail to recognize that they are building their business on rented digital land.
Oh, yeah. We were just
Huge,
talking about that today.
huge flaw.
Yeah, the fact that we've got we have a very large Facebook group, and there's some of the folks there that we don't have all of their emails.
Grab
We have
them.
most of them, but not all of them. So I mean, stuff like that could go away tomorrow. We might not have access to that. But there's a lot of. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and your strategery could be to give them
Right.
something of value in order to capture that email.
Yeah, it's a little harder after the fact though, because it's so much easier as they come into the group. So a lot of people don't have that plan either. I'm sure the people who set up life in the ant colony weren't thinking about building an email list as people were coming in.
Well, and there are exceptions. This brings something to mind. Man, that sun is just going.
But can you imagine what they could be making a month if they had?
Well, if you can monetize your ant colony
or something, yeah.
Let's see if anybody's commenting here yet.
I think you could monetize your ant colony at least with T-shirts or something.
Yeah, that I'm living the life of an ant.
Yeah, an ant's life.
An ant's life, as opposed to a bug's life.
Bug's life, right?
So I was thinking, so we talked about strategy. We were just today. I haven't shaved in days. I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And one of the big reasons for that was not that I was in a turkey and pie coma. It's that a couple weeks ago, my wife Maggie, and this has happened over the couple of months or so, she was getting inquiries from people because we do we do Instagram lives every week, 1:00 Pacific and 4:00 Eastern. And these Instagram cooking shows, she was always wearing these aprons that we got from Mexico. And people just kept asking over and over and over again, where'd you get the apron? Where'd you get the apron? How can I get one of those? And so we actually brought in a few aprons just to kind of test and see what's going on. So, okay, we'll do a 14-day trial on Shopify. We'll just give people a few aprons because they want to do that. And what we didn't realize was that the demand had exceeded our ability to fulfill the orders. And so out of nowhere, and by the way, this is a rare occurrence. Out of nowhere, a business popped up from just the desire of viewers to get a hold of the aprons.
And people asking for them. So
and they asked
on your own, but they suggested. Yeah.
So we were driving into Mexico, bringing aprons in. We drove back into Mexico a second time, brought aprons in. We drove into Mexico a third time and brought aprons in because our inventory was disappearing in a shop that we had never intended to create. But mind you, this is the exception as opposed to the rule. So what we have found ourselves doing, even though we exited the physical product market 2.5-3 years ago, because we were selling LED flashlights and bike lights and things, and said, this is not for us.
Yeah.
Even though we were in that, now we found ourselves back in a physical product business that we really just had no intention of creating, but it's taken on a life of its own. So now we find ourselves moving backwards from the opportunity into creating the strategy. And I'll share one thing for you that was just really funny because we offered through her email list. They were all given a special code where they could get 25% off of the products that were in the Shopify store. The problem was that we hadn't anticipated that people from the email list might be telling people from the Facebook group. And the Instagram. And so we had to create a social media code different than the 25% off for Black Friday. And so we're backpedaling constantly trying to figure out our marketing strategy. And here's the dirty little secret that went wrong, which is we also offered T-shirts on this site. And it turned out that with the Black Friday discount code, we started losing money on all of the T-shirts that we were selling. So I had to quickly today take those shirts down because the Black Friday discount was too big and it ate into the profit margin such that we were actually losing money on every single T-shirt that came out of that. So our margins weren't high enough on the T-shirts.
No. Yeah.
And so when you offer things like discounts, you should have a big spreadsheet in place, which will actually let you know that it might not be while it might be a good idea to give discounts on your aprons and on your face masks, embroidered face masks and other things, strategically speaking, it might be a loser if you had the same thing for an item of a lower profit margin. So,
Oh my gosh.
lesson learned
Lesson
today.
learned. Yes.
Mind you, lesson learned today in
Wow.
fulfilling all of those orders. Yes.
Wow.
So,
That's a tough lesson.
strategery. Get
Strategery is
some.
important. Yes. Yeah, that's a tough lesson to bite into.
No kidding. It bites.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, it certainly
The
does.
lesson bites in and of itself.
Wow. Wow.
So.
So next time you're going to Mexico with a U-Haul, right?
No. Well, no. Well, because part of it too is we've also uncovered other sources, and so we just may have them shipped to us. But it was hard. It was really hard. But we like the people we're dealing with in Mexico, and they need the income, and so I don't mind paying a little more.
And another supplier. Yeah.
I mean, we add additional suppliers, really, and the reality is that we can actually have our own designs created from one or two of these suppliers, which I kind of like. So you might,
it's funny mentioning that. I keep thinking of the people I know that got hammered because they didn't have backup suppliers.
Yeah,
and then something would go wrong. I had a friend of mine who created.
I'm going this way now.
That's fine. That works.
Because the light keeps changing.
Moving and keeps hitting you no matter where you go.
I'm going to back up here. There we go.
I had a friend of mine who was on Amazon, and I'm losing track of where it was on all the different shopping networks.
Woofu Commerce or WooCommerce.
He made a gift wrapping bag, like a garment bag that you hang in your closet. My friend Adam, and he ran into some of that where you end up going to China. You're working with the manufacturers.
I've done it.
All of these, I know lots of people who have done it. So, I mean, there's so many different things that you have to kind of really make a list of.
Well, that's where your SWOT analysis got. You have to actually, you brainstorm your idea, which is great, but then you actually have to go back and you have to brainstorm all the things that could possibly go wrong as part of your strategy. And it's not that you want to be super pessimistic, but you want to be prepared. And having been a Boy Scout, it was always be prepared.
Yeah, always.
But from a marketing standpoint, you may think strategically it's a great idea to participate in Black Friday. But, if you call up the local Rolls-Royce dealer, I don't think that they have Black Friday specials. Neither does the Ritz-Carlton or the Waldorf Astoria in New York. I mean, they might have something now, but I don't know that you're going to get a Black Friday special at the Rolls-Royce dealer. So
probably not.
And that's a premium type of product. Like you look at Apple also, when it comes to strategic pricing, the greatest discount I've ever seen was something like 3%, maybe 5% if you're a loyal business customer, but you're not getting deep discounts on Apple prices. And so for a premium product, you need to have a premium marketing strategy.
Right. Not directly from Apple anyways. I know that some outside businesses who offer Apple products, like I'm thinking of Costco's. Costco's almost always does a yearly iPad special around Christmas time.
But those discounts are still very small.
They're still relatively small, yeah. Some of them weren't bad, though. Last couple of years, I think they had pretty decent ones. And they usually offer a lot of other stuff along with it, they give you double the support and typically double the manufacturer's warranty and all these different things.
I'd like an earbud special from somebody.
I was thinking, you might need something like that.
Well, these are crazy. So I say whoever came with the design, I still use them because I'm waiting to get another pen. But they have these little metal pieces here with the rubber piece that fits onto it. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times I've lost the rubber pieces and I have to scrounge around under the couch, under the desk, under the bed because they pop off so easily if I pull them out of my pocket.
So, I can't wear those. I've tried over the years, the rubber ones. They pressurize my ear canal so much that they bother me. So I always get the either use the Apple ones, that hang. And
I like those.
Yeah. Those are nice. Yeah, they're very well thought out. And then they have pretty good knockoffs of those too for PC. But I can't wear those regular rubberized ones.
The sound does make a difference. I do like earbuds that have a deeper bass or at least a good mid range. And these are a little tinny because I think they were probably $5.
Yeah.
But I do think it's good to monitor the sound. This is the first time I've actually been doing this in a while. And actually, my sound actually sounds better with these earbuds than it does when it pushes through my speakers. So,
Tends to.
who knew? I should have
Who
known.
knew?
I
Who
should have
knew?
known. So when it comes to strategies, I think that we've had a couple of valuable lessons, which is you really do need to consider all the things that could possibly go wrong in a strategy. Even when you're choosing your hosting company for your website, you want to make sure
Oh my
that that
God.
hosting company is good, and that if you're on a shared hosting site, that your speed is not going to be terribly lagging behind others, because the Google, when those spiders come around, they will consider as part of your ranking the speed with which your website loads.
I can't tell you how many hosting companies I had to investigate before I finally found the one I'm with.
Which one are you with now?
Liquid Web.
Yeah, I liked Liquid Web, and then they disappointed me, and then so I went to A2, but that's just personal experience. So
I started with A2, and then somehow I ended up all the way around at Liquid Web. But A2 was good too.
So funny how we've jumped from host to host. We're like hopping,
I know.
we're host hopping.
There's always something that just kind of sets us off.
I think usually it's if I get an experience with bad customer service, that will sour me to that particular company.
It usually does that.
And so when it comes to having strategy, your help desk is also very important. And the people you have manning or womaning your help desk are significant in creating that good overall customer brand experience. I will tell you that I have rarely, if ever, been disappointed with Apple customer service. And that's probably why I'm a loyal Apple fanboy at this point.
They're very, very good. Yeah. And I started out in that realm. I used to work as a advanced customer support guy for a while.
Yeah. So, it's really important. I'll even copy my chats with a particular rep if there was something that was really, really good. I'm not necessarily posting the entire chat on social media.
I had a funny thing happen once where I had a young lady who was helping me with a particular software I use for business, and we're going through the whole thing. And like I said, I used to work in customer support, but she was like a high level tier 1 person. And problem I had was really, really tough. And I said, when we get done with this, I'd like to talk to your boss. And she said,
she's probably afraid. She's probably afraid.
She was freaked out for a few minutes. And I said, listen, I used to work in a similar position to you. You've done such a great job for me. I want your boss to know how valuable you are to the company.
There you
go.
She
goes, oh, well, sure. I'll just pass you right through. So I had a great chat with her boss. And he's like, yeah, we love her. She's amazing. I said, well, you take good care of her because she's special. And
and it doesn't hurt you in any way to give out a compliment to someone.
No, and she deserved it. So that's also where I learned that I could solve a really, really difficult technical problem with Google in that same phone call. I went to look something up, and she's like, how'd you figure that out? We've been trying to figure that out for like 6 months. I said, there's a search engine called Google. Try it.
Try the Google.
Yeah, the Google. It's very funny. So many things that we can find.
Yeah, so I hearken back to my example of having no strategy, and then having to create a strategy on the fly. You do not want to go through that. You really don't. Now, we said at the beginning too, you can create a product or a coaching program or something like that, pre-sell it, have an outline of what you want to do. But then if you're an alpha or beta or founders, whatever it turns out to be, your strategy can be to give people what they want and then recast your particular program or product according to the feedback that you got from those customers.
Yeah. You can
I think it's a good strategy. I mean,
it's really the best strategy, because where to get better feedback than from your own customers or potential customers.
Well, and you think about it too, your beta or your alpha group, they're pretty much the most intense focus group that you could ever come up with. Because if you're giving them a 4 to 6 week program, they're going to give you a ton of feedback that you wouldn't get in having a focus group of 10 people take a look at something over the course of an hour.
Yeah, I often go back and re-interview and check in with the group that, or the different groups that have been betas or alphas for different things for me, because they're just such a wealth of information. They're your perfect avatar in most cases.
Do you have a bunch
So
of do you have alpha males in your alpha group?
I'm sure, yeah, one or two.
Alpha females.
Yeah,
People
there-
want to take over.
there's a lot of them.
That is true. So when it comes to strategic planning, are there any tools that you use that are useful? I find sometimes just a plain old spreadsheet is a pretty good thing to start with.
I find a nice yellow pad is a pretty good place to start with, though.
Pad.
Even more interesting to start with.
Actually,
So
my yellow pads are small; they're post-it notes.
yes, I do a lot of that too.
There you go. I find myself gravitating also to the canary. I don't like the really dark ones, like the dark purple. If I write on them, I can't see anything. Same thing with the reds and the blues. Blue ink on a dark blue post-it is not a good look.
You usually start with these small yellow pads.
Do you mind map for your strategy, or do you?
No,
are you very linear?
I really don't. I find it works out pretty well for me to at least start to get some main big high level ideas on, and then just start to drill down from there. So for me, it works out perfectly. I like old school.
I do like Trello. I haven't never tried Asana or some of the others. I know that Slack, a lot of people use Slack for their communications. The question is whether it's really strategic. I think Trello, what's interesting with the cards, you can move them around as things get done. But I do think that, pen to paper is probably one of your best bets to at least start with the thing.
I think for the strategic side of it, Slack is a great communication tool. So I think
I've been in a couple of groups. There was a product. Well, Jason Zook's was Buy My Future, then became Buy Our Future, now it became Wandering Aimfully. But they communicate with all the members of the community through Slack. It's a private Slack group. I don't know how you manage that really skillfully, because Slack sometimes, to me, it's not terribly intuitive, because sometimes I forget to post in a particular thread, and it's an isolated message floating around, and that may be it's like trying to herd cats.
Yeah, kind of. I saw a lot of people too go from Slack to Telegraph.
Oh yeah, Telegraph, and prior to that, it was Voxer. I think was very popular.
Yeah, Voxer. Well, I still use Voxer quite a bit.
You do? Okay.
I think Voxer is a great way for people to be able to get. In fact, I think having Voxer as an access point actually can work out really, really good for people to have like a quick question that they can't really put into words, and they just want a quick reply on something.
Yeah.
I actually thought about, I know people who started Voxer coaching and that kind of thing, and I've actually thought about doing it myself.
I know Russell Brunson had his very high level coaching program was all done on Voxer. I remember that because they would. I don't know if they do it anymore, but
still a pretty cool tool.
Yeah, it's sort of like they used to have the. What was it? It was almost like a walkie-talkie function on phones. That was a big thing with Verizon and with Cellular One and the others. Yeah, I mean, it's the new thing is Voxer actually.
Yeah,
as well as probably the Telegraph, I would imagine.
I don't think Telegraph's not walkie-talkie though.
Yeah.
But
so when it comes to we could go down the rabbit hole of tools all day long. So the question is, how do you organize your strategy with yellow pad and a pen or so? How do you flesh things out when it comes to revenue goals and everything else like that? Any calculators you use or other things? I know that, what was it? Giru? Was it? Who was that?
Giru. Yeah.
Giru. It was one of the tools.
I use that every once in a while. I have it. I got it when they first had the special. It works great to kind of work through funnels and set out revenue goals. I do have that. Just spreadsheets even. Just set up spreadsheets, like Google Sheets. Old-fashioned Excel.
Old-fashioned Excel. I do like, from a strategic standpoint, I do sometimes like the idea of going with Google Sheets, only because, as our mutual friend James Schramko was trying to do several years ago, I think he actually succeeded. He switched everything in his office to Google. And as a result, because he wanted to be able to operate his business anywhere in the world with his phone.
Yeah.
Which I thought was actually brilliant, providing that Google doesn't disappear. But if the Google disappears, we're all screwed.
We are all screwed. The world ends.
We put our eggs into the Google basket pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think
we basically all put our eggs in that basket. So
our Google eggs are.
I think you got to really plan on them being around for the long haul.
But you don't want to kill the Google goose.
No, but there's so many great tools in Google. You know, if you just go up and click on the 9 squares and then run down, and you'll see all the tools that are available to you. It's like, gosh, I'd be stupid not to use some of these. Probably not. Probably almost all of them.
I still use my Google Voice. I found that to be something that was just really valuable, in addition to using things like Twilio and other stuff for clients. But I have a client actually who switched everything to Microsoft.
Oh, yeah.
And I just didn't understand it. I was not gonna argue with him, but I didn't understand it. I really didn't, because I just found that, for example, everything was in Outlook that he had, and everything was Microsoft. And I was just kind of like, I just don't know. You know, I see myself moving more between Apple and Google and back and forth, depending upon what functions I really want. But Microsoft is low on my list.
Especially after Skype. I mean, if you're thinking about using Microsoft as your one and all for everything, take a good look at Skype.
Yeah, Skype, and I found that true strategically when we're looking at platforms with which to do live broadcasts. I found that I liked StreamYard, and the one thing I love the interface of Ecamm, but the problem was that they did use, at least for a while, Skype as their video and audio feed for having guests on. And I just that just was one more layer of complexity that I just wasn't ready to embrace.
Right. Seems true with a lot of the programs like that. Wirecast was like that as well. Yeah. And then Wirecast has Wirecast Go for mobile, which lets you tie back into it. But yeah, it's a challenge sometimes.
I mean, when you're trying to come up with your online strategy, sure, take a look at all your revenue goals and then kind of back out of that and figure out what are the 1 or 2 social platforms that you want to have. What's your email strategy going to be? And what kind of content strategy? I think we haven't even touched on content. What are you going to create? What are you going to create? Is it going to be mostly blogging? Is it going to be mostly written? Is it going to be mostly video? Are you going to have a podcast?
What's it going to be? Yeah, no, that's true. And I think you really have to have all or most of those as part of your content strategy, because everybody learns in different ways.
And we're going to master one social platform before we move on to the others, or can you find a way to leverage 2 simultaneously? I think the Facebook, Instagram is, now that I've seen it all integrated within Business Manager, it makes sense to use both Facebook and Instagram. Even if your audience runs older, there's still 45-year-olds and 50-year-olds and 40-year-olds on Instagram. Before, it used to be the province of teeny boppers and youth. But now it skews older, just like TikTok's probably going to go through the same sort of evolution.
Probably. Wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, you want omnipresence, but the question is your audience present on all of those platforms?
That's the real question.
Yeah.
You got to look and see where your audience hangs out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most people, there's always that saying, I'd like to be everywhere my clients are, but that's not always possible, because when you really start to do social media on a fairly large scale, it takes a lot of brain power and horsepower to stay up with all of the different platforms.
Yeah, I would argue that it is possible to be on all platforms, but you need a team. You can't do it by yourself.
You can't do it by yourself. No, that's what I was going to say. Really.
We have a couple of VAs whom we use. Yeah, and there's no way that we could actually accomplish things with the Mama Maggie's Kitchen food blog, and with the new Shopify store, and with my coaching and our digital agency, Maximize Your Media. We can't do it all by ourselves. We would be unable to tread water if we didn't have assistance.
Oh yeah. Oh, we all would be. And there's a lot of tools too that let you keep up better with those things as well if you are solo. So that definitely helps. Things like IFTTT and the different posting programs.
And I also think that not just the programs that help you automate, but if you just schedule yourself in terms of the rituals and the habits that you're going to have. For example, let's say that you spend 30 minutes a day just DMing people on Instagram, and that's one of your strategies. And so you're
Right.
going to use that every single day. But you do have to be consistent with it, and you can't say I'm going to do it on Mondays and if I feel like it on Thursday, but I'm not going to do it on a Sunday. I think you just need to be continually reaching out to people. And very often, I think in our toolbox, we have actually missed out on just having telephone conversations with people.
Yeah, we really have. And the one thing that always kills me is this kind of new habit that people have fallen into of just messaging people out of the blue without making any kind of connection with them at all. It drives me, I find it maddening. You
Well,
know,
it's actually insulting and it's very presumptuous.
well, that too.
I found
All of
that
it.
the people who are the greatest violators of a good social strategy tend to be the ones who are on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Because I think somehow they think, oh, it's a B2B, primarily a B2B platform. If I could just connect with a business person, I can immediately pitch them. No,
right.
you can't.
No.
I mean, you can, but you're stupid to do it.
Yeah, I think Facebook is right up there with it
It's
because
getting more like that. I'm getting a lot of messages saying,
I
hey,
get
hi,
so
how
many
are you?
direct messages from people on Facebook, even not quite as much as LinkedIn, but it's a very close second now.
Yeah, it has actually accelerated, I think, in the last 2 months, 2 or 3 months.
Yeah,
And I don't know why, because I don't know these people and I'm not about to message back to these folks. Very often I look at the profiles and you'll see the profile was created 72 hours ago and
I
they
know,
have
right?
some pictures in there and I'm like, "Well, you don't even have an about me section. You don't tell me where you are from. You
Mhm.
have no work experience. You have no, and mind you, there are some seasoned marketers who never put down things like
Yeah,
where they're from or where they went to
no,
school,
I know,
or they have no profile picture on Facebook. So
I know. You got to have a little bit of stuff there
if you're
if you're going
trying
to
to
use it.
hide, let's put it this way, if you want to become a good scammer, at least have some photos up there and an imaginary university that you graduated from.
Exactly.
I
Harvard,
mean,
good one.
it excites my imagination.
Yale, second choice.
Land of second choice. Remember that, folks, when you're sending your kid to college.
Yeah,
Man, but strategically, you need to have your finances in order too if you're going to set up a real business.
yeah,
And as
you
one
do.
of my friends once mentioned to me, and I find this to be totally, totally true, your strategy cannot be to look at your bank account and to see how much money you have there at any given time in order to figure out what you're going to do. It's
Right.
the worst because your bank account will change dramatically from day to day or from month to month. You need to
Right.
really look very seriously at budgeting. And I am a terrible budgeter, which is why I send all of the finance stuff to my wife, Maggie, who's a master of numbers and statistics.
Nice.
Because she can actually, it's not so much reining me in from spending, which has been an issue in the past, but it's also from the projections that she can create. So this is where we're meant to be. This is where we're going to be 3 months from now. This is what I'm projecting for a year from now. This is what I'm projecting 2 years from now. Although some would argue that you really can only look at 90 days to get a sense of things. But in the food blogging world, you have to be very strategic because every quarter behaves differently. And right now we're in Q4,
Mm.
which strategically is the biggest quarter if you're a food blogger, or actually probably in a lot of
Yeah,
businesses.
for a lot of businesses, sure.
Yeah.
Last
I
quarter is
mean,
the best.
Yeah, and so Q4 we had our projected revenues and things, and then COVID hit, and COVID did change things a bit, and you had to adjust some of the projections looking at last year to this year. But overall, the projections are all still going up. I would not want to be a travel blogger right now, for example, because at least in the food blogging world, people are at home and they're making meals. They may not be dining out as much because so they're looking for recipes, for example.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are traveling the world or looking for the latest deals on going to Antwerp, Belgium.
Hmm.
And so we have seen a lot of travel bloggers, their blogs are gone now because of the
Oh,
whole pandemic. Yeah.
yeah, because I can't go anyplace.
And a good strategy also is to have multiple streams of income. Robert Allen was big
Cool.
about multiple streams of
Yeah,
income. Multiple streams of internet income is also very good, which is why we're actually
there
grateful
you
that we now have the Mama Maggie's Kitchen store, because that has actually created another stream of income
go.
that we had not actually thought of too.
Or planned.
Oh, yeah.
Mind you. Or
I
planned.
swear to you, this thing came out of the blue. It's like
Yeah, I know.
okay, it reminds me of the old movies where they say, "Hey kids, let's put on a show."
Mhm.
So it's similar to that.
Very similar to that. And I'm
I
glad
would,
you mentioned budgeting because I mean, then after that, we've got standard operating procedures,
you got to have your
succession
SOPs.
planning. What happens even if you have a small business if you become impaired or can't carry on or for
And part
heaven's
part
sake die?
part of your strategy is
Yeah,
liability insurance. Part
yeah,
of your strategy is key man insurance.
yeah. I mean, so
Mama,
many things to think through.
Mama Maggie's Kitchen without Maggie would be hard. So
It would be very hard.
there is a huge amount of content that had already been created. And but we never really looked at key man insurance. I think that's something we really need to look at, because I don't know that most businesses, especially sole proprietors or even small LLCs, really consider key man insurance.
No,
If
I
you
don't.
are if you are the personal brand, you better have a damn good strategy behind you in
Yeah.
order to protect the business if you go down,
Yep, absolutely.
which makes
Very
me think
important.
think right now.
Hey, don't point at your head like that. Yeah, exactly.
I
Um,
So what else do we need to cover on strategy? I think planning just for the year ahead. I mean, what do you want to make in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, as
yeah,
opposed to I'm just going to put a little course together. I'm going to charge $7 for it or $49.95 and see what happens next. I think you need to really look at, are you going to put some advertising dollars behind it? You can start with a simple landing page. You don't have to have a fancy website. You can
yeah.
start with a word logo. You don't need an iconic logo.
In fact,
If
the
you're
best place to start is not with a full-blown website, but maybe a couple of test pages.
landing page. I mean, so I know people who don't even have landing pages. They just establish they've got their personal Facebook
Mhm.
profile. They put a banner in their Facebook profile. They have a professional page, and they just go out there. And their strategy is as much guerrilla marketing as ever, which is to send out 10, 15 Facebook messages a day
Yeah,
to get your start.
and I know people who use products like 22 Social and all kinds of different things to develop their sites on public platforms like Facebook or wherever it might be,
Mm.
and use that to get started. Some of them just continued with that, although it's you don't own your own show if you do that. So ultimately, you want to bring back that power to something you control. But so many ways to get started without your very first thing being, oh, I got to have my website created, and
Without a doubt.
yeah, or even worse, I want to build it myself. That might not be the best thing to do.
Not always. I mean,
I can build a website, but I'm not the best person to build my own website.
I think there's real reason that you hire a trusted guide
Yes.
or a guru or a teacher or a business coach or mentor to help you along the way. And
Mm,
it's because you don't, as a fresh-faced entrepreneur, especially in the online world, you do not have the experiences from the school of hard knocks that we have gone through over the years.
no. No, and I mean, so many things when we look at our own business, we can't see, but
Yeah.
it's easy for us to see things in other people's, um, but sometimes hard in our own. I know
There's a
that, yeah, I mean, one of my clients, he started a workshop, which I know you know about. We started doing all these meditation workshops and stuff, and he completely simplified his business. He changed it to a one price membership for almost everything, and then the higher levels are all, a more personal experience with him. But he wouldn't have done that. Normally, he had like 80 million products.
Yeah, I
He was
think
trying to around.
strategically, you need to look at things, and sometimes in the land of choice, too many choices is terrible. There was a study done several years ago. I believe it was done by researchers who were looking at Whole Foods somewhere, and they had this was the jelly one. Or you remember the jelly one? They had six different types of jelly that were available at one table, and they had the whole variety of 24 different jellies at the other table.
No, I don't think I remember this one.
And the sales were amazing because the people who had sampled at the six variety table
Hmm.
bought something like 5 times more in the store than the people who had visited the 24
Wow.
variety table. So I think that in the case of your client, narrowing down from all of those products into a few key offerings is a wonderful strategic way to move forward in 2021.
That's a very nice introduction to my last state, one of my last
Okay.
statements, which is going to be the power of simplicity and how important it is to really try to simplify everything. So the more you can simplify every piece of your business, the less time you have to spend in the minutia of having a lot of complexities.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like there's a coaching offer that I saw recently where the goal was to create a high level, a high ticket coaching program one on one, a
Mhm.
lower level one to few coaching, which was still pretty high, but not nearly as high as the one
Very
to
nice.
one. And then a few intro products or smaller type of things that would get people in.
In the
But
door.
that and I think the goal of having your lower level products, your entry level products, is to help people as much as possible so that they become so successful they can afford your higher level programs.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny. A lot of times there's ways around that. Like for instance, this one particular person I'm working with, he decided to have a $97 membership program and just put all of his content into that membership program. But an easy introduction lower than that is he could offer a trial, some kind of a 14-day trial, 7-day trial.
I like the trial
Free
idea.
trial. Yeah, the trial idea is great. In
You can have
fact,
a
well,
yeah, or you can put have a somebody will do a dollar trial, and you
right.
have the dollar. Maybe it's for 14 days or it's for 21. But the reason for charging a dollar, you may think, well, a dollar, what's that? You've captured their credit card information, and so it's easy to bill them once the trial period is
Yeah,
has.
and even more than that, somebody spent money.
Yeah,
Period. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Just
Buyer is a buyer is a buyer. I'll take the
buyer is a
dollar.
buyer all day long. Right. Yep.
It's just like
So
if you have a store, one of the big problems with when we were selling on Amazon was strategically we did not have access to all the data of all of our buyers.
right.
That's terrible. So the best thing that you can possibly do is send somebody off of a platform like that onto a landing page or send them to the landing page to capture their email before you send them into a large platform who is where they're extremely protective of the data,
Sure.
which is why we really like our little Shopify store
Oh
because we got
yeah,
all their emails are coming in.
it's great. You
Street,
got
street
everything with that.
telephone number. I mean, not only are they buyers, but they're high quality buyers because
Yeah,
you
do
already
everything.
developed your. I think that's the other thing I want to say strategically, rather than just running out there and building products and programs and things like that, where I got my logo, I got my website. If you
Mhm.
build it, they will not necessarily come. But
Right.
if you can establish an audience, and nurture that audience over time, then you have a pool of potential buyers. Let's say that.
Yeah. Much better odds, for sure.
Yeah. May the odds forever be in your favor.
Mm.
I'm asking for a tribute from New Hampshire. So
No.
anyway, so I think we've supposed to be a short one, but we got into a fairly interesting discussion.
Almost a very interesting discussion now with this one.
255 minutes. We actually might have some material here that we could repurpose into either a podcast or into some short video snippets.
Absolutely. But it's a good conversation to have. I think it's where people are first getting started. We're at the end of the year. More people than ever are going to be looking at restarting or starting a new business or whatever it might be. And maybe something along this way they didn't get right, or they couldn't pivot to keep and survive. So I think
you got to
conversation to have.
All the restaurant owners in our local town, who many of whom have pivoted and many of whom have actually closed their doors for good because it was just
here. Same much.
Yeah, I mean, we have people who their restaurants didn't even have the opportunity for outdoor dining. Even if they took over some of the sidewalk in town, there weren't enough tables to make it work.
Oh, wow. We even had one spot where they eliminated one of the lanes through the middle of town, where they had like 2 lanes on Main Street, and they actually blocked 1 lane off because they don't get a lot of traffic all the time, just so they would have a little more room out in front for the restaurants to be able to.
That's happened here in several places. Yeah. Pacific Beach for one.
Yeah, we can't eat outside anymore. It's just too darn cold. You'll freeze to death now on lunch.
Heaters that you have.
Yeah.
In New York, some of them have plastic bubbles with a heater.
Oh, that's
City. Yeah.
I could see that.
I
can imagine. Can you imagine on a New York street trying to get people out? I mean,
it's doable. It's really hard. I mean, the restaurants that have dining in the back or so. Those are probably the way to go. The problem is, I think the access has to come through the alley, and they can't come through the front door.
I know. I mean, it's almost as difficult here because a lot of our roads, we don't have shoulders on our roads in a lot of places. It's trees. We have what used to be frontier pathways.
Treehouse dining.
In colonial days, now turned into roads. So it's been fascinating when all this takes place there.
Yeah, there's a lot. You got to pivot. You got to adapt. You have to have a strategy that allows you flexibility. Otherwise, you're going to be screwed.
I know. We have an Amazon. Amazon wants to put a warehouse in our town where I live. And one of the big challenges, of course, is exactly what I said. They can't widen the road anymore for traffic through this one area. And it's like the only road that leads to the highway, and it's already packed.
I've seen that in Hingham, where my brother and his family live, because they have these really tiny paths, and the trees. There is no shoulder even because the trees are right up against the road.
No, it's crazy.
So there, you need strategic urban planning.
Third world problem in America.
First world problems.
Yeah.
Anyway. So I think we've gone through strategy or strategery, as W was fond of saying. Anything else to add before I put this thing in the can?
No, I think we're done. My light just went out.
Your light just went out. Is that the sign that we use now? When John's light goes out,
my light went out. We've been on for an hour.
Been on long enough. Actually, almost for a full hour. We're going to try to get shorter on the happy hour, but I think we just get discussing. I had not anticipated saying anything about our little pop-up Shopify store, but it's a good example.
It is a good example. Today was a good conversation, I think, for a lot of people. So
things can go wrong when they go so right. So
well, it's true. They can go right and go wrong at the same time.
Exactly. All right. So with that in mind, we will be. Oh, my wife asks me if I am done. And so I am done. Yes, and so we are.
Honey, I'm done.
on. All right. So we will end for today. Marketing Happy Hour is brought to you by johnpaduchak.com.
There you go.
Our sponsor. Hey, what do you, by the way, before we go, what is your new branding going to be?
Videos are social.
Videos are social. I think that are a good idea. All
Okay,
right.
perfect.
They are social. We are social. And we will be back here for another social activity called the Marketing Happy Hour next week at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 Central, 3 Mountain, and noon Hawaiian time, because we have our one person from the island of Oahu who actually does watch. Okay.
Awesome.
Oahu. All right.
Wow.
We'll see you